Namaste, soul family, sky goddess. This video is a self-healing video. I'm gonna talk about loss and grief. But there's a certain aspect of loss and grief that I want to specifically talk about, and this is grieving the end of a connection, the end of a relationship, from a mercurial point of view, from a wordy, communicating, tangible, feeling, hearing kind of perspective, okay? Because like connections, they get severed in various different ways, forms, manifestations. But you know, in this specific series, this specific episode of this series, I think I may make it a series about loss and grief. I just want to talk about in this episode the relationship grief, okay? That grief that you experience from the loss of a, emotional connection. Okay, and what a lot of people, they do not understand, even, in regards to their own experiences, is how devastating and how painful it can be to lose somebody. To have been in a relationship, to have built your world around a certain desire or passion or idea. Sometimes we're victims to that kind of grief, and we distract ourselves in various different means and hobbies and skills or jobs or gifts, or spending habit, or like toxic ways. And Joshua, let me just tell you, I don't want any disruptions. You're not gonna play underneath here because I'm doing a very important video. Let me give the deck to you. You can take it inside. I don't want the noise outside, okay?
Wait, we can take them inside?
Yeah.
Like upstairs?
Yes, on the veranda. But, I'm going to be monitoring you with them. Go. And I don't want any noise on the veranda either, okay? Love you, boys.
So, can't we just go in the living room? Mommy, I love you.
All right, I love you too. Okay. I wish I was. Love you. So, a lot of times we, tend to use distractions to distract us from how we're feeling, what's happening to us. And, sometimes this also, creates illusions that, I don't want to really get into that right now, who's wrong, who's right. Because really and truthfully, at the end of, any connection, both parties lose. And if it was that you were being deceived and you weren't really in a relationship, it's like eventually karma is going to get the other person. So it's still a loss for both parties. Okay? Now, losing, a marriage, or it could have been a common law connection. It doesn't matter. It's still a relationship. Losing a relationship. And this can also, be, to death, someone's spouse dying, someone's lover dying. Okay? But it is a similar loss. Heavy sinking feeling, to which there seems no end, as though it's an abyss, or to which you cannot articulate the words to explain how devastating you feel. Is still that kind of loss and grief. there's a study that was done, that concluded that people can die from a heartbreak and really being in love with somebody who you lost through death, or it's just, they're irreconcilable differences. There's no you both working things out together. It can really cause an emotional mental death that can, if not dealt with properly or in a sensitive, understanding manner, can lead to suicide. Okay? So I just want to, I think I actually had a name for this series, and it's called Grieving with Me. Okay? Grieving with me, because I'm also grieving. I am also grieving. Especially when you feel like you've given so much love and affection, and you keep coming across the same energies in different bodies, whether it's the same gender or opposite. It's just, it's disappointment, just the same. Let's grieve together. And sometimes when people are grieving the end of a connection and they start, they get involved into another connection suddenly, just leave them be. Because there are going to be people who are going to tell you, you need to grieve on your own. You need to grieve on your own, blah, blah, blah. The truth is, we all need somebody. And when we have a not just spiritual but tangible support group, it helps us to overcome those hurdles and those challenges that comes with grieving. Okay? I don't like getting emotional because I can feel the impact that it does have on the heart chakra, to be specific. And that's that area surrounding your heart, man. People, they do die from heartbreak. It's true. You had, what you considered the perfect life. That's gone. Now you start having dark thoughts. Will you ever be happy? Will you ever get this life again? Will you ever meet somebody like that person again? And that's why I say, put your egos aside. Reach out to that person. If you gotta say you're sorry, say you're sorry. Explain why you walked away if you're the one who walked away. And if that person really loves you, and sometimes it's not really about love, it's what's best for us. Because if you have a propensity of doing a certain thing, then we need to get help for you, and then we can talk about us. But I feel like we'll never find anybody who's perfect. I was never perfect in my connections. It's just, I don't feel like I want to talk about certain things in this particular episode. I was just thinking away. But we all have a propensity of effing shit up. Let's just say that, And at the end of the day, the truth is, it's just never really one particular party. It's just both parties to be blamed. I did that to upset you. You did that to, as a rebuttal to upset me. And, pretty much one who felt more stable, in a lot of situations, not all situations, okay? But a lot of times the ones who seem more stable, more firm, they feel like, it's easier for them to walk away. Whilst if you are dependent on the other party, especially financially, it's going to be really hard for you to be the one to really, do that. I did that, when leaving my son's father. But the truth is, I did, want a family. I was comfortable in that life. But eventually I realized I did all the best that I could. And I wasn't at fault, even though I wasn't perfect in the situation. But I saw that, it was best for me to walk away. And though wasn't the breadwinner, I was actually a stay-at-home mom. I did leave the connection, which I'm happy that I did every day. I don't regret that. But two specific, I'm not even going to say two specific connections, because there were like other connections that I got enraptured into. I'm a hopeless romantic. When I fall in love, I'm like really, really all for that connection. Not saying that I'm perfect in that connection, but I'm really all for that connection. Even if you see me talking to somebody of the opposite gender to me, don't think that I have interest of being with them, because like for me, I admit I have, a way of, giving that impression out of anger. But at the end of the day, it's not something that I see myself doing, because I just it's just a mind thing, a mind over matter. I did something like that years ago, and I know how that feels. And so feeling guilty, I know how that feels, and I don't like it. So I can really talk to people who cause a eruption in your connection. So I had to cut briefly because of the noise in the background. So I can speak from a guilty person's perspective, and from somebody who may think they were right, as well as somebody who did the best they could. Because I've been in either, all three of them situations. Let me just say that. Okay? So, neither of those, positions feel good. So some people, they may, think that, okay, being the victim makes you feel so much better. And, not technically, because then you feel a bit hopeless. Like, why am I being treated the same way, even though I try a completely different approach? Okay? And there's so much to say in regards to that. Because like, one, I keep having to pause. But like, where was I? You have to understand that people will treat you however they perceive themselves and life in general. Okay, so their overall perspective of people, their generalized perception of people will definitely play a role. Okay, as well as how they feel about themselves. Okay, that is definitely going to affect how they treat you. Okay, also, you got to take into consideration, oh my god, again. Okay, so you also want to consider external factors. Okay, external factors surrounding not just this person you're in a relationship with, but also you yourself, like friends, associates, colleagues, co-workers, childhood people from your past, childhood friends, people you recently met, your peers, your family members, your relatives, your exes. You want to, consider those factors, also your reputation or past experiences. You want to factor in those energies as well. Okay? Because it is not just their perspective of the world or themselves, but it's also other people's perception of them, other people's perception of you. Okay, and so we have a thing that's called an illusion is then formed. And that is why it's good to be able to see past illusions. Okay, not to beat yourself up, don't. Okay, don't. Okay, so you want to, one of the first steps, which may sound cliche, it's not, okay? You gotta really think about it. You want to be open to forgiving the person who you think hurt you, because sometimes, you know, we self-sabotage. We gotta um, know that as, you know, as a possibility. Believe that that is a possibility. So you want to forgive yourself, and you want to forgive them. You want to forgive yourself for any possible self-sabotage. And you want to forgive them for the possibility of them sabotaging the connection. And bear in mind, like I said recently, not too long ago, a few seconds ago, that you got to consider factors surrounding you and this person. Okay? Can you both reconcile? Of course. But you got to really want to change and to really discover where you went wrong, if you did, which most of the time, both parties, not all the time, but most of the time it takes two. I'm not going to say all the time, okay? So you want to um, understand first what led to the breakup, the dissolution of the contract, the marriage, the common law union. You want to first go through that. See where you went wrong. You got to be open to accepting that you were wrong if you were, and you gotta be open to, so you gotta be open to forgiving yourself, discovering you were at fault in some way, shape, or form, and you gotta be open to forgiving them. You gotta want to change. You gotta want to change. You gotta want to change. You gotta want change. Okay? You need to be passionate about change. You need change. Okay? So that's like 2. Okay, 3. What did I learn? What did I learn? Not to do this in a relationship, not to do that. What did I learn? We're not bad. We're not holy either. We're all capable of good and bad. Okay? Which frequency do you want to vibrate at or vibrate in? What did I learn? What did I learn? Now, what I learned from my experiences aren't going to be the same lessons you learned or you're going to learn. Okay? As we're at different points or distances in our journey or journeys, okay? We're in different connections. We possess different agreement, amalgamation of frequencies, okay? So, of course, my lessons aren't your lessons, but they can help to guide you. Yours can help to guide me. So you want to think about what it is you learn. First, you got to be open to forgiveness, because once you send forth that forgiveness towards the person who you considered or thought or think hurt you, offended you, then you're also opening up to forgiving yourself, because it could always be that you were at fault, okay? Always. And so once you are open to forgiving, you're open to change. Humility. Touching more on the change, wanting to change. What are you going to change? You got to also focus on that. I'm going to get into these 4 aspects in depth along the season, grieving with me. or I might call it grieve with me. Oh, or grieving. Okay, grieving with me. I think that sounds better. Okay. So what are you gonna change? Is it this location that you're in that's really toxic, man? The people are so toxic and hateful. They got this nasty, energy or frequency to them. A little leaven does leaven up the whole lump. Is this family that I'm attached to, who, they always got a problem with everybody I deal with, and they they highlight, these people's flaws, my flaws, which is just to cause chaos or to disrupt the flow, the harmonious flow between me and, said person. Okay? Is it this group of friends, my coworkers, my job? Is it a toxic job that, that influences me to not want to settle down, to not appreciate a genuine, authentic connection? Which is it? Is it, the family? They're always jealous of your girlfriends, or they are just nitpicky about the people you talk to. But nobody is perfect. Is it your family? Your brothers, they're always wanting to have sexual relations with your girlfriends, or maybe your sister, maybe it's your sister, she's a lesbian, she always wants to hook up with your girlfriends, but once the girlfriends are not into that, she's got nothing but negativity to speak about, that girlfriend. Is it your mom? Does she got a thing for the punani? Okay. Maybe it's, somebody, like an in-law, or this could be a step-parent, okay? Who is it that's around you? Somebody you really revered. Somebody you really looked up to. A boss. Is it your boss constantly ending your connections because you keep talking to beautiful chicks? Is it your boss? Is it your boss? Is it your boss who particularly interfered in that particular connection because they wanted your chick? Is it your boss? Is it your boss? Your employee? Your employer? Okay? Isn't an employee who's always messing up your connections? Okay? Making moves on your woman. What is it? Are is it that addiction that you got that makes you really so detached and nonchalant in your connections? Like, whatever. What is it? Okay, so what did you learn? Okay? And I'm gonna touch briefly, finally, not least of all, but indefinitely not the last, but just a finale, or semi-finale. Let me just say that, because there are gonna be more important aspects to this, okay, in regards to pointers, in regards to, that's what the whole series is about, grieving with me, how to get through grief. Okay, so we got, okay, so forgive yourself and them, wanting to change. Okay, and what did you learn? Okay, we also want to talk about you informing those who you trust, confidants, friends, family, if they're not the problem. Okay, inform them that you are grieving. Okay, you are grieving the loss of somebody. Okay, don't have to be somebody's dead. Why is it important to inform these people who care so much about us and who we care so much about? Because we don't want them to think that they're the problem. Okay? We want them to understand that it's not you, it's me and this situation that I'm dealing with. Please understand, because we all got feelings and emotions. We all experience loss at some point. We all got grief. We all got an 8th house placement as far as I'm concerned, and it's, 2nd house frequency, okay? We all got that. We all got feelings. We all got a moon frequency, a moon sign. We all got a 10th house. We all got Saturn, lessons and restrictions, that we got to learn so that we can become more responsible beings and know how to handle our blessings, Jupiter, or expansion. For when we, they say you have to practice a yard before you go abroad, a Jamaican proverb. And so pretty much it's you grooming yourself, the discipline in yourself, self-discipline, okay? It's gonna really help you through the grieving process, the grief, because pretty much grief, they do restrict us. Grieving restricts us. Grieving, it really changes our lives. And now the decisions we make will determine whether it's for the worse or for the better. Me, all my songs, like, I know best to explain how I feel through my songs. And even, really emotional songs, I'm like, I know what the song is saying, but sometimes I don't really feel the experience that which the song speaks about until, like, moments after, months, weeks, maybe even years. Because, like, songs I've written, like, years ago, I'm like singing them over, and I'm like, oh damn, that's exactly how I feel now. I never felt like that when I wrote that song, but that's exactly how I feel now. And so, like, now I really, I've learned too that my songs, they're me really expressing me being at a certain frequency. So art really will help you through grief. I didn't have that jotted down, but now I do. I'm going to do that right now because that's very important. Art. You need to find, and your art is your gift. That's that 7th house frequency, and that's Libra frequency, and that deals with how we think, our mind space, and also art, exquisite art, okay? Exquisite art. Where is that again? So that 7th house, your gifts, your ability, your intellectual prowess, your love for, your love, what you're passionate about, you love, connoisseurship, okay? Also relating, and that's why also socializing will help you. It's not you using anybody as a rebound. It's really you just it's a part of you processing and dealing with your grief by interacting with other people. I'm gonna talk about that in depth in another video, because some people, they may counteract, but grieving alone is not easy and it's not good, okay? So you're not going to use that person as a distraction. They're actually being a shoulder for you to cry on. That's really what it is. So your art, let's talk about, connoisseurship, okay? And your art, your gifts, your abilities, let's talk about that. These are ways in which you express yourself. Like, for me, it's music, it's also drawing, it's also painting. I haven't painted for a long time. I haven't really drawn anything in a while. But, like, for me, like, even my intuitive work, studying too, also writing songs, listening to music, singing, those things, they console me in some way, shape, or form. And those are gifts and abilities, those are art, an expression of experiences, or an experience, or expressing life expressing, emotions, expressing deep, sinking, hidden feelings that you are too scared or ashamed to put out to the world. Okay? So, art is life. And so that is why it can help to heal you. It can. It's as though you're reshaping yourself, remolding yourself over into uh, a new being. One who's more wholesome, one who's healed, one who's happy, one who has moved on. Okay? So, art is really helpful. Like for me, I have the propensity, and I've done this for years, pretending that, I'm unbothered by certain things. But once, the grief really hits your heart center, hits the core, you find that, you're really grieving that, because that's your heart chakra being bruised, or that's been bruised. And this can happen through, a lot of hardship. 10 of Wands, great hardship, great loss, being greatly restricted. Okay? Yeah. And that really hurts your heart chakra. It really affects your hopes and your dreams. And especially when you're stuck on the past and you're like thinking a lot about the past. Because like now with Venus transits in Sag, that's happening. And this is going to go over into Venus in Capricorn. But I feel like the Cappy is going to kind of cushion the blow. But then we got to deal with Mercury in Scorpio and Mars in Scorpio. And I can literally just feel these energies already. It's like so heavy and sinking. Missing a certain place, a certain job, a certain connection, missing your family, missing, an addiction. It's also, it's like such a toxic possibly toxic frequency. It doesn't have to be. We can, transmute them energies to be good for us. But, yielding to the depressive frequency can really hurt you and really cause someone to, roll into a cycle of addictions. Okay? That can really, like this is like, somebody just really missing the past. And, part of, healing is like, some of these connections, I'm not going to say they're doomed. Okay? I'm not going to say they're doomed. Okay? But say you cannot reconcile with this person. You got to force yourself to move on. Okay? You just got to. But always put your pride aside. Always, because that 10 of Wands is learning how to not be prideful or forceful. And if you gotta be humble and apologize, reach out to somebody, express to them how you feel, why you did what you did. It's good. It's good for you, because then you're gonna know, especially if months have gone by, years have gone by, then that's time in which you make the planetary bodies, they shift, and the frequencies, they shift. They were upset like months ago. Are they still upset? So communication is key here. Communicating to your loved ones you're grieving. Communicating to this person who you hurt, or who hurt you. And really, if things are to close for good, then that's a different topic, which I will, talk about in a completely different video. But if there can be reconciliations, then that's beautiful. Okay, because the Mars in Scorpio, it's not just death, but it's life also. It's transforming. It's transmutation. And so you find that connections are going to be revived. Connections thought dead are going to come back to life. So it is not a woe is me kind of transit. Okay, there's good to come from it. Okay, I'm going to come back because I need to charge my phone and I'm going to talk more. Okay, I may touch on how, you know, this Mars in Scorpio, which is a powerful frequency because Mars is direction, movements. It's Aries frequency, you know, really intense like Scorpio itself. One is fire, one is water. Okay, so a lot of steam right there, letting off a lot of fucking steam. So I might talk about how this is going to affect each zodiacal frequency might. And if I do, it's going to be briefly, okay? But, you know, I'm going to charge my phone and get back at you guys. But you know, resurrection to past connections. You just bear that in mind. So you're grieving right now. If you want to reconcile with this person, reach out to them. Okay, there is a possibility of a reconciliation, but you both gotta want this. It's purging. Yeah, it's gonna be a purge, but no pun intended. Hopefully not the murderous kind. Okay, but a lot of analyzing certain situations, dealing with deep-rooted pain. And it's also rebirth. It's also rebirth. Things coming back to life. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there, guys. Namaste. Thank you for listening and grieving with me. Namaste.